It is 7:59, so I'm gonna let it start officially. And well, there we go. 8 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, and it is 5 p.m. on the West Coast. And I am happy to be seeing you guys today, interacting with you all in tonight's live stream for members only. I'm gonna give everyone a few minutes so that some more folks will join us. And I just want to thank you to those who are already here. I really appreciate you being a member and all your support, all your enthusiasm, all your comments, etc., etc. So thank you for that. And tonight, we have a guest, a special guest. So I'm excited about that. So you'll be seeing him before long and you will have an opportunity to ask questions and to comment in real time. That's one of the things I really like with these, where you can you can say what you're thinking, ask whatever you have to ask, and we can kind of have more of a dialogue. So excited for that. I hope you've all have been having a great weekend. If you haven't yet, I was just actually watching my most recent episode, the Renaissance Fair episode. Like I think it's like costumes, pleasure, and play is what it says on the thumbnail. And I was watching that with my mom. She'd actually expressed interest in going to Renaissance this year and has never been. So I was like, oh, let me show you this episode. And she's a member as well of the channel. And yeah, I think she's really enjoying it and even more interested in going to one in person. So that's kind of cool. Again, I'm going to give everyone, it's just 8:02. So just like have a couple minutes as people arrive. And this is going to be probably, well, at least a half an hour long. Sometimes I feel like it goes like 45 minutes or maybe an hour. We'll see, especially when I get our guest on, how the conversation flows and everything. And then hopefully you guys on the West Coast will have time to hop off, eat some dinner or whatever. And those of us on the East Coast or elsewhere can possibly get ready for bed or whatever. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. I had a great time with this last episode. I released it on, well, let's see, it was Saturday. So no, I released it on Halloween. Released it Thursday. I think Thursday was Halloween. So it was kind of a fun one to put out there that had to do with costumes and play and imagination, but kind of in a different way. So that was really fun. And if you haven't seen it yet, or if you have, either way, there is a guy in it who is in the a wonderful, okay. Um, we've got our special guest is ready to come on. So what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So he was just a delight to have. He was in the Blowing Smoke episode. I'm pretty sure it's called Blowing Smoke. Blowing Steam. I'm sorry, Blowing Steam, because it's a steam engine. And there were several episodes I did around last like November, December, with the Orange County Model Engineers. And Sean was in one of those episodes. He was in the like third, I think, episode. And he told a really endearing story about building this steam engine with his dad. And you see the steam engine, and you see after it's done its runs for the day, them letting everything exhale out of there. And yeah, it was just a really wonderful conversation. So if you haven't yet seen that, I encourage you to watch that. Oh, yay! Okay, I thank you. It's so nice to see a comment. I'll finish that phrase and I want to read this and comment to this. So anyways, yeah, even if you have seen it, you might just revisit that episode with Sean, because it's really fun to have kind of seen him in his, I feel like maybe he's wearing like overalls in that episode, and he's doing his train thing, and then you see him in a different light telling us about a really unique timepiece at this one this group, this clan that meets every year and kind of puts on cool things for people. Anyways, so he's some people I've come across you will end up seeing in multiple episodes. Uh, yeah, it just has happened that way. So, okay, I'm reading from Thomas um, that he made home movies of the Renaissance Fair in Nevada in 1981. Oh my gosh, 8 millimeter film several years before. Okay, that is so neat, Thomas. That's that's really cool. Um, wow. Okay. I've been to Nevada once. I'm curious, are they still doing Renaissance fairs there? I'm sure there's one in the Bay Area, and I'm wondering if it's still if that's still the location. And really neat to hear that you also shoot film and stuff. I know Thomas has a newsletter. He's always doing interesting things, going on into interesting places. He has an amazing train layout and also is just an artist in various ways. And so, anyways, that's cool hearing about the photography connection too. I'm going to, okay, I wonder how I didn't immediately respond to bring in, oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to bring in Dean so that I don't screw anything up here. And hold on just for a second here. Actually, I wonder if hold on. Okay. Here we go. Did I do that right? Nope.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi. Okay, yes. Okay, it all worked out. Hello, Dean.
Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
Great, great. Thank you so much for being on here today and making
My pleasure.
time. Um,
Anytime, my pleasure.
Hey, it's so nice to have you. I'm gonna
Definitely.
say a few things about Dean here and just a few
Yeah.
things, and then we'll get going. Yay, you're getting a warm welcome from Thomas.
Hi,
Saying
Thomas.
hello, hello, Dean. Yay. So, okay. So who I have with us today is a member of my channel, and he's been watching for a long time since I believe last year. Dean Kaplan is his name.
Mhm.
And he told me that he thinks that he kind of got introduced to my channel with the episode about the 3751, the Santa Fe
Yeah,
that was
I
at
think
Union
I think
Station.
I think it was last year when it was at Union Station, Lisa. I was there with my good friend Cameron and a bunch of other rail fans that were there, and I think I was watching videos of around that time just for the heck of it of people filming 3751, and I happened to come across your channel I think at that time, and I became a big fan. So that's
I
how that
love
evolved.
that's so great. That was a really fun episode to film. I feel like I ran into so many people that day. I ran into Jason at the end,
Hmm. I'm
who
very good friends with Jason.
you're good friends. That's the thing. It's like a lot of us, we connect. You see some of the same names in the comments each week. And then
Of
in
course.
terms of actually going to things, many of us are running into one another too, and I do keep running into some of the same people just randomly. It's been so Jason, for those of you who might not remember, he was shown at the end of my 3751 episode, and he like holds up his model of this 3751, and we kind of like got a quick shot together. And then he was in a Lionel Trains episode more recently, because the the vice president of Lionel and I were chatting, and he knew Jason. It was a whole thing. So anyways, yeah, Jason's made a couple
I
appearances.
was very surprised that they knew Jason. I've known Jason for about maybe three and a half years, I think. I don't exactly remember when I met him. I think it was at the museum out in Paris, I think, that I
Oh,
met him.
okay.
But yeah, he's a very good guy. Very good guy by a mile.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So that is where I met Jason as well. I went out to Perris, for anyone who's not familiar, Paris, California, in Southern California, to the Southern California Railway Museum. It used to have another name, but that's what it is now.
Orange Empire Railway Museum. I don't exactly remember when they switched it to SCRM, but it's currently what the name is at this point.
Thank you for adding that.
No
And
problem.
I was in the have you been to the Ward Kimball's collection in that?
I regret that. I have never been there, but I've been funny you mentioned Ward Kimball. I think wasn't he the president of Santa Fe, I think at one point, if I'm not
Ward
mistaken. I
Kimball
think he
worked with Walt Disney.
it's funny you say that because I've been a Walt Disney fan for I think about almost 34 years. I ever since I was 2 years old. So what you don't and kind of off topic from trains, but right here on my shelf, I got 6 lanyards with nothing but Disney pins scattered throughout them. So
Wow.
yeah.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. And for sure, so for me, my channel is really about connecting people to one
Hmm.
another and me connect like this is like I love this.
Same with me.
And yeah, and and then like uplifting everybody and just helping people live their best lives. So
Of course,
um it's it does have a lot of stuff that has to do with trains though, and there are a lot of
of
train
course.
fans and there are a lot of train and Disney fans.
I'm one of those people. In fact, back in 2016, when they were constructing Galaxy's Edge, I'm a Disneyland veteran, by the way. I've gone to the parks, God knows how many times. I was an annual pass holder from 2015 through 2019, and I know the ropes between both parks. In fact, three of my my train friends actually are cast members at Disneyland. I get a joy getting into the parks thanks to them every now and then.
Oh my gosh. That's great. I've only been there a couple times myself. I don't know, Thomas, and anyone else out there if you've been to Disneyland or been to Disney World, but Disneyland especially, there's something special about it with
Yeah.
the its origins and being original.
And back in 2016, like I was saying, when they were constructing Galaxy's Edge, they didn't have the Disneyland Railroad running, so they actually had the engines on display. I think it was Main Street Station and New Orleans Station. Excuse me. I remember they had the EP Ripley, which was the steam locomotive that Walt Disney himself rode on. There's footage on YouTube of him when the park opened in 1955, and I got the they you had the pleasure of sitting right where Walt Disney did at New Orleans Station. It was pretty cool. I got the
Wow.
great pleasure of doing that. I think my friend Cameron did too, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God. All right. So that's really interesting. And I do need to like just to sort of backtrack a little bit and talk about
Yeah, sure,
Dean
Lisa.
for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So Dean, like some other people, some of you out there, and some people that are, on the channel, watching the channel, have channels of their own and are into photography, like Thomas. I know you talked about, film and video. And Dean has been filming with one of his best friends, Kat Cameron, for
Yes.
a very long time. And I know you said you've been like 16 and a half years you've been
You
photographing
nailed it right on.
trains.
You nailed it right on the head. My friend Cameron and I we were watching YouTube videos way back in early to mid 2009, if I remember that correctly. Yeah, 2009. God, we were both just 19 years old at the time, and we just figured why not we start doing that, and we kind of took it to. And I might as well tell you people who I'm, if you don't mind, Lisa, if I tell you what I'm really famous for. I am the legendary cheering rail fan. I am a guy who goes woohoo whenever a train goes by my head. And I've been cheering on trains for almost 19 years. And I we added that to me and Cameron's videos. And as 2009 came to a close in early 2010, it was at that point I realized, holy crap, people were took notice in our videos, and it kind of just took off from there. And 16 and a half years later, I cannot describe the support, the fun, and people that love seeing the action that Cameron and I have brought to YouTube for the past 16 and a half years.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, Thomas. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm totally keeping up. Thomas is very wonderfully actively writing some interesting things too. So
Yeah.
Dean, so if you see Dean commenting, he comments every week or every time I post an episode, and there are many of you
Yeah.
out there like that, and I really like we get to know each other. Anyways, I really appreciate the relationship building that's happened. And he is, if I think
Hmm.
I can say, he's Andros 51.
Correct.
So now you can put the face with the name with the channel.
Yeah.
So feel free to respond to his comments.
Yeah.
And
My cha- yeah, my channel only has a few one-on-one chats I've done with some famous actresses that when the pandemic was at its height in 2020, 2021. I've met a couple of stars from the ABC show Once Upon a Time, and I've actually met two of the legendary voice actresses virtually that voiced a couple of the Disney princesses on my channel. That's all you'll find on my channel, nothing more.
okay, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I love these little like fun tidbits you're sharing.
Yeah,
But for anyone who when you see Andros pop up, yeah, I want you to know that this is the guy.
the man.
So you can always comment back to him or whatever and reply to kind of
Yes.
connect with him. But then on
Mhm.
top of that, everything that Dean shoots with Cameron is on extreme Padre fan.
Correct. Correct.
So
Extreme
you guys
Padre
can all
fan.
follow him and hop on there and see all this stuff, which is going to include some of the things we're going to talk about today.
Of
And you
course.
will get a visual and can follow along on their
Of
channel.
course.
In fact, I was somewhere. Did I meet Cameron or did I meet who was it that I met in Fullerton that
Oh,
put you on the
yeah,
phone?
the phone. I first of all, Lisa, I love your reaction when that surf liner came in. I get such a kick out of that every time. And second of all, that's actually my friend Cody. Actually, he's currently living in Northern California, but I think next month he's coming back to Fullerton, back to the Orange County area. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Okay, so folks, I know a lot of you watched. I have two Fullerton episodes from Fullerton from the museum there, and the station, the train station. If you haven't seen either, see them because the first one they're going to acquire a new thing, and then the second
Hmm.
one they've acquired the new thing, and you see where they're at with restoring this new car and stuff. But one of them, and I think it's the second. I think it's the
I think
second.
it's the second one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second one, I'm like doing my thing, like, wow, trains are going by and whatever. And I always meet people. And I met this guy, Cody. And the next thing I
Yeah.
know, Cody pulls out his phone and
Yeah.
has Dean here on like a video chat.
I think I wanted to go to Fullerton that day, but I think I was doing something at home, so I couldn't make it. So I figure why not just video chat with Cody there as a result, and it was pretty funny.
Oh, it was hilarious because like it's like yeah, I already kind of knew Dean at that point, and then
Yeah.
here he is. And then so you see Dean in that episode. This is his first time doing. This is his first time kind of officially like this, but he
Exactly.
was he was on a phone on the screen in that Fullerton episode. So
I
yeah. So
love that
now
video.
I love that. So yeah. So that's Extreme Padre Fan is the channel for
Correct.
their stuff. So Dean, you
Hmm.
have been into trains since you were but wee high, 2 years old.
Correct.
Is that Sorry, I thought I heard a door. Okay. All right, thought I heard a
Yeah.
door.
No worries, Lisa.
Okay. And is there anything you want to say about your passion for trains
Yeah.
starting at age 2 and especially I always like just to ask like what it does for you.
I look at pictures of myself when I was 2 years old, and it was pretty obvious even then that my love for trains was evident. I remember I had this when I actually lived in Oceanside, California, in the early to mid '90s before I moved to San Luis Obispo. I know I've told you stories about when I moved to SLO, but I'll get to that a little later.
Yay.
Um, yeah, and I had this little ride-on train that went in a figure 8 pattern. I remember riding that. That was kind of my first little fun exposure to even loving train, little kid stuff, when it comes to trains. And I don't know if Thomas the Tank Engine had any influence on my. I know I was into that when I was a kid, but obviously, being as old as I am now, I'm not too crazy about that. And as I was growing older and older, every time I was near train tracks or hear the sound of a train horn, I got so excited, like so excited that I wanted to run to whatever the source of the train was. And as I got into my teen years, I was always wondering why the heck I was going crazy about trains. And I have to admit, in my early teens, it was kind of hard for me because there was always idiots that made fun of my love for trains, especially in high school. God, the people then were not nice to me about it. And but thankfully, I was able to rise high about above that. And thankfully, they're not in my life now, so I dare them to do that to me today. And it wasn't. Yeah, I always love saying that. But it wasn't until I was about 15 years old, going on 16 that time in my life, that I was diagnosed with a mild case of Asperger's syndrome. I told you this in the messages.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed, and people with this disorder, I can't really explain it. You would have to look it up online. But people with it have mysterious obsessions. Well, trains happen to be mine.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate that, and I'm sure some of you else, the other folks watching and everything, if you want to comment at all about your love for trains, or if there's something else that you're really passionate about, that you've been passionate about from a young age, and kind of the impact it's had on your life, please do.
Yeah,
Please write that in the comments. We're all happy to hear about that.
of
And
course.
thank
Mhm.
you, Dean.
Anytime.
Um, yeah, I don't know, can you read the comments? I don't think you can see the
Yes,
comments,
I
but
can.
you can. Okay,
Yes,
all
I
right,
can
great.
actually.
So you can just
Yeah.
see that Thomas says, he can relate to a lot of what you said, and
Thank you,
thanks you.
Thomas. Thomas, I'm curious. Do you have a kind of a mental disorder that kind of is the same way, but do you love trains too, or anything along those lines? Go ahead and leave an answer if you want.
Thank you, Dean. And
Mhm.
very interesting too what was I see in a comment about the Walt Disney Family Museum, which is in San Francisco. I have not
Uh,
been there yet. I
Neither
even
have I.
really yeah, I worked at a documentary film production company in the Presidio, like the same area, I think where the museum is, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken. But I haven't been. So that's gonna have to be on my list. But I love this. Okay, apparently there's this book, Walt Disney's Trains, a grand circle tour through his life and legacy. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'll have to check that out.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I know quite a lot about Walt Disney's life and going to the parks and so much. Apparently, I guess he was a rail fan himself. Actually, there's a documentary
Mhm.
here on YouTube that came out in 2001 called Walt Disney: The Man Behind the Myth. A very good documentary with Dick Van Dyke being the narrator of it. I recommend it if you want a great history of his life.
Can you say
Um,
the name of
the,
that again?
Walt Disney: The Man Behind the Myth. It's a great
Mhm.
documentary. I recommend it. It came out in 2001, and a lot of people that they interviewed that knew Walt Disney personally and knew Walt, while he was alive, they're sadly all long passed on now. But it's a great documentary, and there's footage that I think one of the animators for Walt Disney, I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. He shot Walt Disney riding in the cab of a Santa Fe Freight. I don't know where exactly, but in there, it's like 40s, early 50s. I think it's pretty fun footage. If I had to say anything.
I'm gonna have to see. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because
Yeah.
sometimes people mention things in the comments that are really like interesting and gems, and I feel like someone mentioned that, and I try to make note on certain little nuggets, especially with the recommendations. People are constantly recommending like awesome train trips and awesome
Oh yeah.
cool places to check out. But sometimes
Mhm.
I miss making the note, and I'm like, that sounds really good.
For sure.
um Thank you.
Anytime,
uh
Lisa.
Okay, so I know you've spent your whole life in Southern and like Central California.
Correct. Yeah.
And you are quite a rail fan, and you're a fan of the Coast Starlight and
Oh
of
yeah.
other things. And thank you again for all the comments. Keep them coming, and any
For
questions.
sure.
And while any other questions come in the comments, I was just wanting to see if you wanted to share a little bit about some of the train spotting you've done, where you like to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I'd be more than happy to.
why.
Well, let me start off by saying I've pretty much been in every probably famous location in the LA basin to I mean heck, I came back from east of Barstow chasing a Norfolk Southern Heritage unit for over 120 miles from a place called Amboy on the Needle Sub east of Barstow, California. That's the Burlington Northern Santa Fe line that goes east of Barstow, California. And I chased Norfolk Southern 8098 with my friend Cameron, the Conrail Heritage unit. I shared a picture with you of it, and I caught it like I don't know 7 8 times, and it was probably one of the funnest chases. And got into Barstow just as the last light of day came over the town. It was pretty fun. But besides Barstow, I've been like the surf line. I'm in Carlsbad, California, here in North County, San Diego. And I've been the line here called the surf line between San Diego and I think the end of it ends at Fullerton Junction before it gets on the San Bernardino sub. They're just east of Fullerton if you want to know that were the distance of that line. I've rail fanned the surf line since I was 13 years old for the past almost 23 years, 22 and a half through 23 years.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I've seen it change. I've seen the power on Amtrak, Coaster, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. I've seen it change, and I know the line pretty much in the back of my mind, like if it's no test for me.
Wow. Well, I remember now because I caught the surf liner when I was in San Luis Obispo and filmed at the
Yes,
station there. And then you commented like that you had lived in San Luis Obispo, right? Forever
yes,
ago.
I lived there. I lived there from 1990. I can't having Asperger's. I definitely remember a lot from when I was younger. I can tell you that much. And I lived in before I get to when I lived in San Luis Obispo, I know every location from Fullerton to Cajon Pass to the Needle Sub east of Barstow. I if have you ever been to a place called Tehachapi, California? About
I
15-20 miles.
have. I rode
Have
a
you, Lisa?
motorcycle through there. Yeah.
Have you ever stopped off Highway 58, like in the town of Tehachapi, or anywhere where the famous train watching locations are in that area?
I don't remember doing anything train related. It was a long, long time ago when I lived in San Francisco, and I feel like you and I feel like some other people have also mentioned Tehachapi as like, you gotta go to Tehachapi.
Yes. I've been rail fanning to Ashby since 2014, so for the past 11 years. And I've seen BSF and Union Pacific. They run some pretty crazy freights up and down that pass between Mojave, California, and Bakersfield. It's and as Thomas just mentioned, yes, Thomas, I've been to the famous Tehachapi Loop many times. Famous
So
Tehachapi Loop.
why is it amazing? And Tom, anyone else who wants to comment too, who has any familiarity with this, why is the Tehachapi Loop? Why is this area so cool for trains or for, I should just say, history, nostalgia,
Why?
interesting things? Tell me.
The Tehachapi line was starting way back in the 1800s. Actually, it was started in 1874, if I remember, if I know that correctly. I don't know what railroad constructed. I would have to look it up online, obviously. And it took about 15 months until 1876, and the loop just happened to be one of the engineering marvels that they constructed. And 100 and almost 40 something years later, trains still go over that pass, despite
Wow.
that.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
Of course.
Um, and you mentioned the Cajon Pass.
Yes, I've been there. I've been up in that pass for the past 15 years, rail fanning.
Okay, and where exactly do you go when you're there, and what do you see, and what keeps bringing you back?
You'll take the 15 north of San Bernardino, and that goes directly into Cajon Pass. Cajon Pass, I there's so many locations that I can name. Unfortunately, with the recent break-ins of trains and all that stuff by crooks, BSF police and a security firm called Pinkerton have been kind of sketchy towards people that go up into the pass to Railfan due to a bunch of crime of people breaking into containers and everything. So I might as well give that warning if you plan on Railfanning Cajon Pass these days. But when you put that to the side, I have a few locations that I do love to. I know I always love water when it comes to talking.
Yeah, I was like, good
Um,
idea. Let me.
that's why I brought this water from my garage just to make sure I was good. I always love being a funny person. Um, One of my favorite locations is in the middle of Cajon Pass. There's this road called Cleghorn Road at a spot called Simply Cajon. All three tracks that the Burlington Northern Santa Fe line go through. You have one that goes up is the steep track. I think it's track 3. I have to. It'd be better if I showed you. And two of
Okay.
them go to, or it's probably one of my favorite locations, the famous Sullivan's Curve.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Sullivan's Curve. If any of you out there have heard of these places, if you've been there, if you have any other thoughts, please feel free to share.
Yeah.
Sullivan's Curve.
Yes.
What do you think? And again, other people, please comment when you watch
Yeah.
this on your thoughts. Like, what is the thrill of a rail fan? What is the thrill? Why do people what is going on for you, or if you have any insights for other people, like I mean, and I'll just say, so when I was in, it was, when was it this year? I was gonna say it was February. No, I know exactly when it was because it was after the Palisades fire, and
That was
I
a terrible fire. Absolute terrible
it
fire.
was a terrible fire. I know I got on here and I
Yeah.
shared some things in that time, and I was personally very lucky, really.
My
Um,
my aunt sadly lost her place in the Palisades or the Pasadena. I think I forget what the name of that
Altadena,
fire. Yeah, Altadena
or the
fire.
right, wasn't
Fortunately,
that? Yeah.
Fortunately, her and her
Mm,
cats got
orange
out of there,
Eden
thankfully, 2
fire.
days before the fires raged out of control, and thankfully, she got unharmed by any of that, so I'm
Okay. And
very
I think I
grateful that
missed, sorry, pardon me. I think I
yeah.
misspoke. It was the Eaton fire, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Eaton
Yeah.
fire,
I
if
said
I
Alta
remember
in
correctly.
Altadena and that
Yeah,
area, but like the Eaton fire.
yeah.
That's I yeah, yeah, there's so much.
It was terrible.
Gosh, I had when I moved into my place in Topanga, I had a lady in Pacific Palisades. She was giving away plants, succulent clippings,
Mhm.
and I saw it on Nextdoor, and it was just like a really nice thing. She's like, if you want to come by, I've got, she trims up her stuff and she like gives out things or whatever. And so I went, I think I said this actually in one of my videos, but I
I think you did.
went early, yeah, like I went early
Mhm.
on and I went to her house and it was beautiful. She was just so into gardening, and
Oh,
so
nice.
it was just so lovely. And so I left with like my whole convertible was full of these clippings and stuff. And I went
Oh,
back
nice.
and it was such a blessing. And I reached out to her after the Palisades fire because she lost her place. I mean, I figured
Wow.
she had. I mean, I looked back up like where was her address? And I was like, there's no way. That whole area was just,
Just
and
completely scorched, wow.
yeah, and I had
Terrible.
offered. I was like, I can give you back. I mean, I can give you now the succulents you gave me since you lost your entire garden. And I mean,
Yeah.
and just sadly, she's so displaced. She wasn't even in a good position to
Oh,
take
that's
them at
terrible.
that time. But they're still alive and well, I believe. I have someone
I hope so.
caretaking. So yeah, I give that back to her. I got such an tangent, but
It's fine.
where did we start? Where were we? Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it, guys.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really so.
um, so I remember after being evacuated, moving out of my place in Topanga, and that
Mhm,
night, it was a very late night, very tiring. And then I
mhm.
drove straight to the desert and I spent like 3 nights there. And when I was there, you can see my episode. It was kind of like a meditative thing, and I'm walking around the
Yeah.
desert and just like trying to be at peace. And then you remember the episode that I shot in do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think this is where I think this is where I really caught your attention and my knowledge of the lines that go in and out of the LA basin. I think it was in
Yes.
Cabazon, California, if I remember correctly. That Union
Yes.
Pacific stack. That is Union Pacific's sunset route that starts by Colton, California, and goes all I think it goes all the way to Texas, I think, through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas.
Thank you. You're right. That's it. In fact, even I was like blanking right there. I'm like, do you remember?
Yeah,
I'm
no worries.
like, I was like, and that was a time I did for sure. Like I saw the train going like in the distance, and it was kind of like, wow, and the mountains behind it.
Mhm,
It really was a sight. And then I kind of kept driving, and I was going, whatever. I was beating it at that point, and
mhm.
then like pulled off. I'm like, oh my gosh. I think it's the first, I filmed a lot of little trains, big
Little train.
trains,
Oh, yeah.
things. I've ridden the 7.5, done a lot of things, but I had not until that point really rail fanned in that way. Like, I'm gonna
Oh,
catch the
that's funny.
train and then I'm gonna pull off and now I'm gonna go out there and everybody's gonna be like, what is she doing? Get off the track. But I
Yeah. And with the size of the freights that Union Pacific, whether it's a stack train like you filmed there, or a manifest, with tank cars, box cars, any of that kind of cargo, or rolling stock, as us rail fans like to call it. Now, Lisa, Union Pacific does run pretty good trains out of between Texas and the LA Basin on that line. I've seen it firsthand. That's one of two lines that they take to get out of the. Actually, I take that back. I think there's three that they take to get out of the LA Basin. It's that one. There's one where they go through Barstow and go to Daggett, California, and they go up the SEMA sub. That's the way they go to Las Vegas, actually.
okay.
Se- SEMA sub. Don't try to rail fan that line too much because it only seats about 8 to 10 trains a day. It's one of the more unused lines, in my opinion, on it.
Okay,
And
so
then the
I mean, go ahead, sorry.
and the one other one is through Soledad Canyon north of Burbank and goes towards Tehachapi. UP runs a couple stack trains up and down that way to go to Northern California that way. So definitely.
Okay, where do you go to find out all the schedules and have things down and be like, well, if we get there at 3:52, we're gonna like
Yeah. I have a. I'm not going to disclose the group or the man who's running it, but I'm part of a group here on Facebook that I have a friend who's probably a bigger rail fan than anybody in this country because he will stay up all night just to catch one unit. And he's lost so much sleep over this. He he has the inside sources to track any good locomotive power wise in and out of the LA basin, and me and Cameron are a part of it, and we're able to know when they're inbound and we're able to intercept at locations like they're bound for this location, and we just intercept it and chase it, do whatever fun, and that's how it's thanks to that. It's thanks to his posts that we. I think that Cameron and I would not be with our videos where we are now if it wasn't for his posts.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting. So yeah,
yeah,
you're part of like a secret society,
you can
a,
say
net,
that.
a network with this information. Because yeah, I feel like I mean, anything that I've spotted, it was kind of just luck, timing, like, and you see it, like, I'm just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, and here it comes, great,"
Mhm.
like like, on cue
I
or
mean,
whatever.
yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago I was at Fullerton. Cam didn't join me. I forget why, but I got word thanks to this group. I got word that the I don't know if you've ever seen this BNSF engine. Have you ever heard of being at Burlington Northern Santa Fe engine 7695?
I don't recall.
It is called the Golden Swoosh Jivo, or as us Rail fans like to call it. It's a one of a kind yellow scheme that they painted. I don't exactly know when they did this. Well, apparently it was in San Bernardino, and I got assigned to an empty auto rack from San Bernardino to Long Beach, and I was well aware of it. I was telling everybody about it, and I think I must have shared all the way to Los Angeles at that rate when it rolled through there. So
Oh my
that's kind
god.
of an indication how I know when all this good stuff is going to be. Like if I'm at Fullerton, one of my favorite stations, by the way. I've been there, God knows how many times over the years, since 2009.
Wow.
But I love it.
There is a lot of action at Fullerton. I mean, as you guys have seen or can see in my 2 Fullerton episodes, there's I mean, I showed up and it was like I couldn't even get across to the other side of the tracks without something was going through, and then by the time, like, arrived, just walking over, another train was coming through. I mean, it was it felt kind of constant, and I have to say for me, 2 of the like, most beautiful scenes, of, like, watching a train go by,
Hmm.
was the one we just talked about, and is it pronounced it's Cabazon?
Cabazon, yes,
Cabazon, okay.
west of
So
Palm Springs. There.
yeah, I mean, that was just again, I mean, you can see in the episode and stuff, and some of you have seen in person, the background, the backdrop, and the whole thing.
Oh
It
yeah,
was so nice. But the other one, and some of you may have joined the channel or whatever later, but Flagstaff, Arizona. I drove from North Carolina to Los Angeles. Mm, like whatever last I'm trying to think, not this year, not this past February, but the February before. Um,
nice.
and yeah, and it was a spectacular time, and I filmed along the way. And when I was in Flagstaff, I don't know again how many of you have been to Flagstaff, but please feel free to comment on it. It's a place that a lot of people love, and the the depot there has model trains in it and all kinds of Route 66 train
Oh, nice.
paraphernalia. But the like it just was a pretty day too. It was like the blue sky, the like white fluffy clouds just enough, and then just bright colored. Again, you can watch the episode. I don't have to just try to describe it, but like, oh, and it's right. It's just I don't know. It was really it was like wow. It was
I've
wow.
never been. I've believe it or not, in all the years I've rail fan, I've never actually been to Arizona in my life. Actually, I have Flagstaff and some points between there and like Kingman or east of there to. There was one other city east of Flagstaff. I've always wanted to visit to watch trains, and I've never been to Arizona, but I know the depot there. You know, you get BSF, you get the Chief, obviously going through there. It's fun,
Yeah.
from what I noticed.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And so for all of you guys out there watching, listening, I know some of you have just booked train trips, or you've just gone on a train trip. I will mention that Amio is the app that I recently downloaded when I was in France. I it was really helpful, like legitimately. So it's like my friend's friend recommended to him. I think I've mentioned it on here before. I now have a link where you can whatever use that to get to Amio's thing. It's you can just book stuff both Amtrak in the United States. You can also book trains in Europe. Um, Instead of booking through the desktop, I did it again on the app, and it made it
Yeah.
really easy to like fly into the airport in Paris, for example, where it's like train to Paris, subway to this, train to it was a multi-step situation. And even just it made it not overwhelming. And I didn't have any of this booked before I showed up at the airport. And it was like,
Oh, wow.
okay. So it was like, and I was going to a wedding and there was a time crunch of like, no messing around. Don't miss this train. Get and make every train and like get there.
Nice.
And I had like an hour to get ready for this wedding. So,
Oh,
anyways,
geez.
yeah. But
How
I do
one
I do
question,
remember.
Lisa, is how was traveling in Europe by rail? I gotta ask. Did you love it?
I'm glad you asked. I'm actually
Yeah.
editing a new episode
Oh,
that
nice.
is from that trip. That is the that you'll see taking the train from Paris from the actual like city center area, I think is when I started filming, out to
Nice.
Vernon. And Vernon is where Giverny is, like Claude Monet's house and gardens, that you can tour, which is in a previous video as well. Um,
Nice.
I it was great. I mean, trains in Europe, they're frequent. It's a popular thing. It's an easy thing.
Yeah, I've never traveled to Europe in my life, so I've never had the chance to obviously experience the railways there, in whether it's Germany, France, Great Britain,
Mhm.
you name it. I would love to at some point in my life if I, had that chance. And
Oh,
not only
yeah.
that, and if there's another rail line I've always wanted to visit, it would have to be the famous bullet train in Japan. I know a few, a long time ago, a former cook that I worked with, I work as a dishwasher, by the way, in a retirement community. Him and his girlfriend at the time, I think they're married now. I don't really know at this point, but they actually went to Japan at the time, and they got to ride the bullet train. And he was kind of boasting to me about how much he loved it and everything because he knew my love for trains and all that. But no, that's a rail line I think I would give anything to visit if I was going to travel abroad, and
Oh,
the bullet
yeah.
train for sure.
That's interesting. So I was talking to my mom earlier about like the idea of having her on here as a guest too. She was in
Yeah.
an episode I did a while back where we went to some horse stables. But anyways, she and I went to Japan and I filmed a documentary short there. It was like my first documentary short, and we flew into Tokyo and then we took the train down and we kept making stops. We went to Osaka, we went to
Oh,
Kyoto,
wow.
we went to Hiroshima.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I recommend that. I think that, so many other places in the world have, as you know, have like solid train systems that make it really easy to not have a car and to get. And I even looked, I
Yeah.
remember back to Paris for a second.
Yeah.
I looked like, okay, again, I don't have much time. I'm trying to get to this wedding. Should I rent a car, at the airport and drive there?
Yeah.
And it didn't even make sense. Like it didn't make sense financially, it didn't make sense even with time. And it's really nice to be in a place where you can just take trains around to kind of everything, and then so much is accessible by even by foot or by a subway once you're in the place. So I
Was
mean,
there a train? Was there a train that went directly to where the wedding you were going to was happening?
um
If you remember.
no, yeah, I do. um for the most part, the train where I got off on the train at the station there in Vernal, I walked like 5 minutes, and
That's not too shabby.
That's where the Airbnb was. And then, from there, it did require like, there was a shuttle to the wedding, so that was like 15
That's
minutes away, but,
mhm.
and it was a little more out of the town center, um,
Yeah.
but the point is yes, you could literally take the train from Paris to this town and then walk to some place to stay and walk around. And I walked all the way, as you'll see again soon in an episode, all the way up to this chateau. There's this Chateau
Yeah.
Bise or Bizy, Bise, all like it was a half an hour walk, but it was it was like fine, I think 20, 30 minutes or something like that. And there were other sites to be seen that also I could just do by foot. So there's
Nice.
a lot you can do in Europe just between the trains that go out of cities, the subway, within, and then your own 2 feet, or you know, um,
Very cool.
or whatever you need to get around like that. So yeah, I'm
For
glad you
sure.
asked about that.
Definitely.
Yeah, trains.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I in fact I was in Dominican Republic recently. I know I posted a couple things, quick things. I was
Mhm.
trying to be like not working and present, but then people started asking like, "Are there trains in Dominican Republic?" I'm like, "Okay, let me look this up." Um,
Is there?
yes,
Mm.
it has, and I'm trying to make. I want to make sure
Learn
I get
something
this
new every day.
right because I did some research, but I don't want to like misinform. I'm trying to be really careful these
Yeah.
days, especially with researching stuff, or
Oh, yeah.
AI can flat out tell you
Oh, yeah.
falsities, like, just,
Oh, totally.
I mean, a lot of people know it, just, yeah, like it can,
Totally.
sometimes something and you can research it and you're like, that is like not even true. So okay, always good to like, fact check things. But in Santo Domingo, I feel like I think that there's a train now there already. Um but I think there's something being built. I don't know. Look it up. Obviously, I like don't have the full
Okay.
story straight. I'm trying to remember if there's
No
already
worries.
something and they're building something else, or if like, excuse me, there's something like in the works. But I know it's the only. I think there's already a train. I should like look it up right now. Already a train, and that it's I'm like, let me get this right. And it's like
Yeah.
the only train in the Caribbean.
Is it the only train in the Caribbean? Huh.
I Yes, Dominican Republic has a modern light rail metro system in its capital city, Santo Domingo,
Mm.
and it's building other new rail projects. Okay, again, this is like AI overview on Google, people, but I did do some
Mhm.
more research. So that sounds right, which is why I was saying I think there's already something, but they're building like a bigger something and it's
Yeah. Of
a big deal.
course.
Yeah. And I don't think there's
Amazing.
anything else in terms of the Caribbean.
Not to my knowledge. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know if any other countries would in the Caribbean would have railways like the Dominican Republic would. Now that I know that. You learn something
Mhm.
new every day.
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
it.
exactly. So I would love to go back there. I had really a fabulous time, and now I'm curious to go. I mean, Santo Domingo is like a big city. I When you look it up, I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's I was in Punta Cana, like totally different
Mhm.
vibe." But I think, and in fact, I was watching something that said that the traffic is like worse than LA. I've lived in LA like 11 years, so I was just kind of like, "Oh my gosh." Like
Lisa, let me tell you something. With all the rail fanning I've done over the past 16 and a half years, I've driven every LA freeway from the 5 to the 15, the 10, the 405, the 91, the 210. I've been on every the 110. I've been on every freeway looking for trains, and I'm no stranger to LA traffic, trust me.
yeah, it sounds like it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, the fact when this guy said that, I forget too, where he's like, if you're trying to go, 3 miles, it can take you X amount of time. Like people, the same kind of thing they say about Los Angeles, like to go
Yeah,
but it sounded terrible. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, again, glad they have some kind of monorail, some situation
yeah,
already there. But I'm curious about what they're building, and I'll have to find out more about that. Hopefully,
for
again,
sure.
like go back and like film a little something there.
Of
That would be fun.
course.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about the in terms of places you recommend for doing rail fanning, or any train trips that you have been on? Like, y-
I've in a surprising thing, Lisa, I've ridden the Surfliner and I've ridden Metrolink, between LA, Oceanside, coaster to San
mhm.
Diego. And I think that I rode the Metrolink out to San Bernardino back when they had the San Bernardino Railroad days, which unfortunately they long discontinued. I'm always disappointed whenever that's the case. Believe it or not, not really. I've not really traveled on any of believe it or not, the last time I traveled on a long distance Amtrak, this is so funny. Was way back when I was 10 years old, was on the Coast Starlight actually.
Okay.
In fact, when I was 10 years old was actually my first train ride I ever went on. I surprisingly never did when I was in my early years, which you think somebody, even as a kid myself, would want to do that. But I remember my dad and I were meeting one of his coworkers at the time. I think they're still good friends to this day, actually. We're meeting him and his son at San Luis Obispo Station like early in the morning, like 6 in the morning. It was I. Let me tell you something. I'm not an early morning riser these days.
Me either. I've yeah, never been.
Yeah, and this was actually right after the Surfliners were brand new in 2000. I remember clearly they were just entering service. It was like mid to late 2000. I don't exactly remember the exact date. I actually had pictures of myself with them in one of my albums out here in the hallway of
Uh-huh.
us riding the train. And we rode down to Santa Barbara. Actually, we rode down to Santa Barbara. The only thing I remember was I was so immature. Me and this other young kid, that the son of my dad's friend, we were running around the Surfliner car a little too crazily. I remember a conductor got angry at us and told us we had to sit down. I remember that clearly. And we get to Santa Barbara. We wave bye to them. They went to do some family thing, and my dad and I decided to ride the bike on the boardwalk by the pier there in Santa Barbara. And I remember that was really fun. And then we were going to take the Coast Starlight back towards San Luis Obispo. And the fun thing I remember was it met a southbound Union Pacific freight on the other track just as we were boarding and all that. I wish I remember what the power was, but it was definitely a manifest back when Union Pacific used to run more trains on the coast. And we rode back, and I remember I got off the train and I had one of the worst headaches I can ever remember.
Hmm.
And then for yucks, I checked a payphone and I found $1.25 in quarters at the slow station when we got back there. So I remember that being a funny factor when I lived in slow at the time.
Oh my god, there's, like, so much you just said, I almost can't even keep track of the things I wanna say. I mean, first of all, and I'm
Sorry.
not just, like, trying to refer to whatever, so,
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you guys have seen, like, I think it was, like, the second to last episode I did was in, Roslyn, Ellensburg, and Cle Elum, Washington State. And in Roslyn, at this farmer's market, there was a
Mhm.
telephone booth. so,
If
and
anybody remembers telephone booths.
exactly, exactly. And when I said
Yeah.
that, it's exactly what I said. I was like, okay, like it's interesting when you get to an age when things like that like did not exist for other adults. Like that there are a lot of like
Isn't that
grown
crazy?
people that are like, oh, I've never and I'm like, oh no, I
Yeah.
remember when telephone booths like worked. They took
Isn't that
quarters and
something?
so when you bring me back to childhood, it's like, oh my gosh, telephone booth. Which is part of what all this is about too. It's like, all
Of
these
course.
things tend to remind us of lots of things, of childhood, of play, and
Hmm.
yeah, and
If anybody,
nostalgia and family moments. And
Oh, yeah. If anybody was gonna ask me my earliest memory of seeing an actual rail train, I can actually answer that very easily. I refuse to believe it's been ingrained into my head for over 3 decades, but, I was about maybe 4 years old living in Oceanside, California. I went to Oceanside Station with my dad. I don't remember who I was. One of my late grandmas was coming down on the San Diegans back when that was common on Amtrak on the Surf Line at the time. But when we got to the station, I saw 3 dark blue and yellow Santa Fe engines back when Santa Fe was still a pure railroad prior to the merger in 1995. They were running light on track 2 and they went northbound with no cars in tow. For 3 decades, that memory has been ingrained in my head. And I wish I had video footage of it, but even at the time, I wouldn't have known to film that.
wow. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. And I'm just think, have you ever been to Colorado?
I regret to say no, but that's definitely a state in the future that I hope Cameron and I can travel to for one simple reason. We want to film the steam railroad there, the Durango and Silverton Railway. We are, and the one thing I have to, I love steam trains. I mean, kind of obvious with the big boy shirt that I'm wearing
I
right
was
now.
gonna ask you, I could just see the top, and so thank you for reminding. I
Yeah,
was like gonna say, like, what's on your shirt? Show everybody.
yeah. Big Boy 4014. I'll get to them in just a second, but yeah, I'd love to visit Colorado for that reason alone to see the Durango and Silverton Railway. I love their steam engines. I've seen plenty of footage of it, and I hope someday Cameron and I could get out to Colorado at some point to get some good footage of that. I think my cheering will probably hurt all around the state if that happens.
That's right. It'd be like echo. Woo hoo woo woo
Exactly.
woo.
And you're curious about did you ever see this steam engine after they restored it, Lisa? I'm just curious.
I have not. I almost went up to Roseville last year and did not. I just didn't have it in me to do that drive from LA. And
You you probably made the right decision for the simple reason that one, it was a 3-hour wait just to get near 4014 when it was in Roseville, and it was over 110 degrees because it was July of last year when it was there.
thank you for that. And I've seen other comments too about like,
Yeah,
yeah, other people that would
Thomas.
like to
Yeah,
see the big boy that haven't yet. And I remember kind of trying to look at, the map and the dates and like, all right, where is it gonna be? And then I
I've
think I saw, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Cameron and I got 4014 once, and it was back in October 2019. It was bound for West Colton Yard in Colton, California. It was doing a tour of the system. I don't know the whole route that they went, other than they were coming into the LA Basin. Cameron and I went out to Barstow. We got to Afton Canyon, which is outside of Yermo when you're going towards Vegas on the 15th. It's Union Pacific SEMA sub that runs through there. Me and Cam posted up with a bunch of other rail fans, and it just rolled over a bridge and right past us. My mouth went as that big machinery just happened to roll by, and we ended up
Wow.
chasing it all the way to West Colton. It was a fun chase, but I don't think one I would probably do again. But this is just an unpopular opinion. I praise Ed Dickens and the San Diego Steam Crew for keeping to restore a big boy is amazing. I am still blown away at that. However, I this is what this might drive people a little crazy what I'm about to say, but I don't like how many people it draws. I think it draws way more people than I think it needs to get. Although I all for the money and everything to keep the steam engine going, of course. But I've seen pictures where there's like 10,000 people surrounding 4014. Not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so tell me about that. Do you not like crowds or what is the
I just think a lot of them are non-rail fans, and they don't really know the case of like chasing a good steam engine like Big Boy. I'm not to say all these people are like this, but especially when they go try to pace 4014 like on the roads, they cause a traffic backlog for like 10 miles just trying to get ahead of it, and it's not a safe thing in my opinion. But
okay.
but you know what? I can kind of overlook that because a Big Boy running in 2025. I mean, this steam engine's something else.
Definitely,
and,
definitely. Uh
and here's a memory that Cameron and I will never forget. It was October 14th, 2019, if I remember correctly. It was the day before they were going to leave West Colton and head out on the Sunset Route to continue a tour of the system at the time. Cameron and I found 4014 behind a fence at West Colton Yard, and we just, for the heck of it, decided to enjoy it. But what happened next? 6 years later, I can't believe this. A Union Pacific officer, back when they had a police force, I should say specifically, came up to us and he asked, "How big of rail fans are you guys?" And Cameron and I eagerly said, "Two of the biggest." And I'll never forget him asking this next question: "How would you like me to open the gate? Would you guys like some shots with 4014?" My mouth literally hung wide open. Cam and I eagerly said yes, and he gave us a couple of Union Pacific vests. And for 10 minutes, we were right next to 4014 by ourselves, excluding the crew working on it. And I'm just like, I'll never forget that. And after 10 minutes, we had to get back behind the fence. But it was one of the best memories I can remember from Ed Dick. I unfortunately didn't get to meet Ed Dickens at the time, but and 6 years later, I wish I could have. But it was one of the best memories with that steam engine, and it's probably my favorite moment with it. Maybe next to when Cameron got a shot of it at Frost in Hesperia, California. One of the best pictures to this day, I think, that he got of that steam engine. But that's my favorite memories with 4014, besides
so
chasing it.
who is it that you just referenced? You named a name. You're like, I didn't get
Ed
to meet.
Dickens. Ed Dickens. He is the president of the UP Steam program, I think currently. He is the man who's usually the engineer in control of operating and keeping 4014 running, along with the UP Steam crew that's under his management.
Okay. And can you
Shout
tell
out to him.
anyone who doesn't know where the big boy is kept when it is not
I can
running
I
and
I
if
can
you
answer
happen
that.
to know when it's going to be doing its thing again?
Um, I think it's supposed to do some tour of the country next year. I don't know all the details off the top of my head. UP 4014, along with another beautiful steam engine, which I'll mention in just a second, are kept in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Cheyenne, Wyoming.
I I've only been to Wyoming like once, I think, but I would like to go back. And I love. I mean, every place has something amazing, but the
Yeah.
Western landscape is
All right,
very
Thomas. Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Gl-
Thank you for being
Glad you
with
got
us.
glad you got to tune in, Thomas. Thank you.
Yes, it's been really nice seeing like comments on people's recent trips and
Yeah.
ways that they have
Mhm.
connected with you, Dean, with everything that you
Mhm.
said, and hearing your enthusiasm and hearing about your channel and everything you and
Of
Cameron
course.
have been shooting for ages. um,
Lisa, I might as well mention, have I ever told you the story of how I met Cameron? First of all, he has cerebral palsy on his knees, so he's in a wheelchair. So I'm very proud to admit I've known a friend for a long time who's physically disabled. That's one thing I'm proud to admit after all these years of knowing him. But I remember this vividly. I was 14 years old. He was 15. We were both freshmen in high school at the time. I went to a model train show that happened at the Del Mar Fairgrounds south of here. And I go to school the next day, and there was a computer teacher at the time. I forget his name off the top. Mr. Hendricks, I think it was his name. Yeah, Mr. Hendricks. He was one of the few people that understood my love for trains at the time. Well, fate had it. Cam just happened to be wheeling by. His class was let out, and he overheard me, and he's like, "You love trains too?" We became friends that second, and 21 years later, we're still friends to this very day. And little did I realize at the time, him and I would be two of the most famous rail nuts in California. Also,
I'm that literally like I have like that literally brought like a couple tears to my eyes. I
I'm sorry.
really
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad you no, like in a really nice way. I it's like I could picture that, or almost like a scene from a movie, like that you're having this conversation and this guy is rolling, and the I don't know, the power of moments like that too, when like somebody, especially like sometimes we have interests or we have things about
Mhm. Of
us or about something we're experiencing in life that
course.
it it doesn't feel like, it could feel like we're alone in that or whatever, all different things and whatever. I don't have to explain it. It's a very human thing,
Yeah,
and to have that moment
it
and
is.
then that it, was the start of,
21 years of,
I was
in
gonna
fact,
say
this
like a couple, yeah, 2 decades plus, like plus.
it's hard to believe, And I wouldn't trade knowing him for 21 years for the world. I'll say that much. And
Well,
a
that
lot of people, and as you know, Lisa, I go woo whenever a train goes by my head, and people often ask me where, when did that originate, or why do I cheer on trains?
mhm,
Obviously,
mhm.
and obviously, I can answer that in the simplest way. That when I was about 17 years old, me, Cameron, and another friend who's not a rail fan, but he liked tagging along with us. During lunchtime, we were able to exit our high school at the time, and we went to Carlsbad Village Coaster Station, um, just to see if any trains were biting and everything. And I remember Amtrak 768, a southbound late morning Amtrak, came rushing southbound, and I went, woo! And I'm like, I love doing that. I can safely say the rest is history. And little did I realize it would stick with me forever.
That's that is like perfect. I love I think we'll wrap up with that because that's just like
Yeah.
amazing. I'm glad you explained how you met Cameron, and I'm glad
Oh, yeah.
to have heard more about the woohoo piece. And you are so, I say this all the time, and I write it to you when you write comments and
Of
everything,
course.
but you are such a warm soul, and I got
You
to
too,
meet
Lisa.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dean and I met, for all you, I had an in-person event at Union Station in LA,
Hmm.
and he came, and so I met him in person then. And
I was happy that Jason was there too. I wouldn't have expected to run into him, so that really made things a lot more fun. And who was the other guy that was with us when
that's
we were
right,
there?
Terry.
Terry. He was a good guy too. I enjoyed sharing train stories and having a great time, and I'll do that again if it comes down to it.
I would love to do that. Yes, and he's Terrence on whatever, at Terrence something, and
Yeah,
he, yes, that was such a good group, and thanks for reminding me too, that Jason was there as well, since we talked about
of
Jason
course,
at the beginning of this. Yeah, so I really, your energy comes across too, and even just what you write, and it's so felt. So thank you for
of
that,
course.
and thank you for like
Anytime, Lisa.
joining us today. And
Yeah,
I look forward to the next time I see your comment or we
of
get to
course.
interact. And
Yeah,
yeah, say hi to Cameron
I will,
for
Lisa.
me.
I'll just want to mention one thing. A little brief case of when I lived in I'm sorry to extend it a little longer, but a brief case of when I lived in San Luis Obispo. I was 6 to 13 years old when my dad got a job up there, and I
Mhm.
witnessed Southern Pacific's last days, Amtrak's Phase Three's last days, and Union Pacific when they used to run more trains on the coast sub at the time. I kind of just grew. I could not tell you how many trains I saw during those 7 years I lived up there. And here's the kicker: my elementary school that I went to when I was 6 to 10 years old, I think it's called Los Ranchos Elementary. It's still in slow currently. The coast sub literally goes right behind a fence, right next to the school. I cannot tell you how many times I ran to that fence to watch Southern Pacific run in their last rates, Amtrak's Coast Starlight, this you name it. I couldn't tell you how much
Wow.
that stuck with me forever.
Wow. No, thank you. That is interesting that you were there during these like historic moments
Yeah,
and that your school was like right there.
yeah.
What a joy for like a person for a kid to be like, "Oh my god, like trains going by." Like
I have the I have the memory of the sounds of the small stack trains that Southern Pacific used to run at the time.
Mm,
The clickety clack, as a funny saying from a funny movie called Lots and Lots of Trains, clickety clack down the track. It's been engraved in my head for nearly 3 decades, and I to this day I'm very proud to remember that stuff. I remember seeing Union Pacific southbound meeting two northbounds within 10 minutes of each other because it goes from two tracks into one when you get out of San Luis Obispo,
mhm.
and I remember seeing the Coast Starlight countless times. I remember you name it, Lisa. In fact, in 2002, Union Pacific ran a passenger special with two special Olympic units. I regret to say I didn't catch that at the time. They ran the train into San Luis Obispo. Fortunately, I was able to see both Olympic units since that time, over the past 16 and a half years filming trains. But UP 2001 and 2002, they're still in their pain, I think. Unfortunately, I think they're in deadlines now, but no less. So yeah, a little
Wow.
brief history of my time living in San Luis Obispo.
God, that's so yeah, that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing all of that.
No problem,
Ooh.
Lisa. I am very happy to be a big fan of your channel. You can thank 3751 for that. I've been enjoying that steam engine for the past 15 years. I saw it for the first time when it did its third excursion on the surf line to San Diego in 2010. And I must admit, I think I shouldn't have gone crazy as much as I did because any footage that I shot back in my the early days, I can't stand myself. I feel like I just went overzealous. I'm crazy, but by 2011, I managed to contain. Now I know how to really cheer on trains better than I did before.
That's funny. I mean, I do know what you mean when, like when you're editing something together and you see yourself. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Maybe I sound a little obnoxious there,
Oh yeah.
or my enthusiasm. I'm like, okay, this is me. This is my natural whatever. But like,
Mhm.
whoa. Or
Hello there.
I know I say wow a lot. Like
I noticed that. Does I
yeah.
guess anything train wise always amazes you like that, huh?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of like I notice, especially when I'm editing it again, like you're dialed in, and so you're really hearing all the things, and I'm like, there I go again. Wow, wow, wow. But
Never bothers me.
well, thank you for saying that. I mean, I don't know. Uh, I don't think it's a good thing to try to like dumb down enthusiasm or
Oh no.
passion or anything,
Yeah.
and it's a good feeling to be curious and amazed by stuff and to have
Of
emotion
course.
come out, so I'm gonna
Oh
just
yeah.
keep embracing that, but
Yeah. And Lisa, a little education for you. I know pretty much the kind of cargo that any train that Burlington Northern Santa Fe and Union Pacific run in and out of the LA basin. Like if I see the cargo, I can normally tell where it's going either in Los Angeles, Long Beach, or anywhere that you can imagine.
hmm
I've been dealing with that for the past 16 and a half years. You'd be surprised how well I know that.
wow. Well, you're definitely knowledgeable and quite the rail fan and a nice kind person, and
You know, Lisa, I don't normally see women that are, into this hobby like that. I've seen you be very crazy about loving trains too. And there's only a couple ladies I know that love trains probably, but it's for the most part it is a pretty male dominant for the most part a male dominant hobby. But no, to see a great lady like yourself, going around filming, train filming I first of all, I loved your footage from San Juan Capistrano that you did earlier this year. I actually there were some parts of that area. And I've driven through San Juan Capistrano so many times on the five that I never knew some of those aspects of that. So that blew my mind when you show me how great of a town that is. Obviously, so
I'm
that's something to
thank you.
give that.
Thank you for mentioning that. And I
Yeah.
love it's the same with like when I put up an episode and someone then people are commenting with information they have that I don't know or that I didn't learn in that place or whatever. It's so
Hmm.
I love that, learning more, and then vice versa. When I know somebody's like been in an area for a while, like there were people that
Hmm.
commented in Fullerton too. They're like, I had no idea that museum was there. I live right nearby. I'm like, yay!
Exactly.
I want to be able to introduce new things, and for sure, I ended up doing those like 3 episodes, I think, in San Juan Capistrano and
I'm
Los
strong.
Rios
Yep.
right there, and
I
love that
I
area.
I especially love your catch that you got a 509, the Comets, and 9215, that cabbage unit. 509 is probably one of my favorite old school Amtrak Dash 832 BWHs. I caught it. Cameron and I saw it for the first time in 2012 after we rode back from San Bernardino Railroad days at Union Station, and it was in this scheme called the Diet Pepsi can scheme. You just look it up on Google. You'll see what it looks like. It wasn't until about the mid to late 2010s it got painted into the current Phase 5, but I love those Dash 8s. They're probably one of my favorite old school. Well, second next to an old Amtrak locomotive I was obsessed with back in the 90s. Locomotives called P40DCs in Phase 3. I was obsessed with those back in the 90s.
That's what I mean. When I like show something, I'm like, oh, that was unique, or I haven't seen that before. Or that was kind of a cool
Yeah.
train to just go at. And then someone like you comments, oh, that was a da 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 da. Da. That's really rare, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
Exactly.
So keep
Yeah.
all
So,
those comments coming.
yeah, it's the perks of Railfanning the surf line for almost 23 years. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for making time today and this
Yeah,
time
anytime,
this
Lisa.
evening. And
It was
I
one of my
look
2 days off from work, so I gladly was able to make it happen today. I had nothing else planned other than just working out and just getting some stuff done today. So I'm
stop
pretty
about
happy.
it.
I don't need to say I'm jacked up.
Oh my gosh, jeez.
My
Okay.
my dad is a weight machine salesman. He's been a salesman since 1981 for the past 44 or 45 years. He got me into
Uh-uh.
lifting weight. He got me into lifting weights. Now I'm not the most buff person on the planet. I'm not afraid to admit that. But he got me into weightlifting when I was about maybe 10 years old when I was living in San Luis Obispo, and I've been doing it, yeah, sporadically throughout the past 2 decades. So
Wow. Well, there are a lot of I like being on the move, doing fun things.
of
But this
course,
year my doctor was just like, I felt like it was one of those like, you're at that age where it's good to lift weights. It's really important,
yes,
and it keeps coming up
yes,
in conversation with people. So good on you for doing that today
for
and
sure.
fitting that in. And thanks for showing your.
I always like being a funny person, Lisa. I've always had that in my personality, besides loving trains, of course. But gambling doesn't good for me.
Well, there you go. And that keeps, yeah, laughter keeps us going. It's healthy. So
In case you didn't realize, I was imitating Bugs Bunny, Duck. I can imitate cartoon voices too, Duck.
that is so one of my friends does voices like that.
Didn't I see a video that you put out about that person? I definitely got a great kick out of it. Yeah, I think I
Yes.
remember that.
Yes, and in
I
fact, I did a post on my Instagram, on my Lisa Console, that's my name, Instagram account this last week. I did it for so it's a couple. My friend Carla, is doing a one-woman show soon, like in the next few days or something,
oh nice,
in Los Angeles. And she's an actress, voiceover artist, etc., and
nice.
is quite accomplished, and people have probably heard her on Netflix or whatever if they
Yeah,
didn't know already. And then her husband does voices like that and kind of took over for Mel Blanc when he was no longer
I'm a
alive.
bit. I'm an absolute big fan of Mel Blanc, even after his death in July of 1989. I Let me tell you something, Lisa. I'm not an actor by any merits. I can't act in front of an audience, in front of a camera. I can't do any of that to save my life.
Uh-huh.
I realized in my early 20s that was not the career path I wanted to go down. But I don't know. after watching Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons for the past, over 3 decades, I don't know how I do this, but I've developed the talent to imitate cartoon voices. Obviously, this has nothing to do with rail fanning, obviously, but
That's fun.
anything from anything from Bugs Bunny to Mickey Mouse, I've been a fan of both of them. And
Well,
you think
thank
you think that's shocking? I can actually imitate some female voices too. I don't know how the heck I do this, but one of my favorites, one of the this Looney Tunes character, her name is Witch Hazel. I don't know if you know this character from Looney Tunes, but I if you watch the actual cartoon, I sound just like her. It's how I ride saddle. It proves I made the equality. I
Okay, I'm
can
not
never.
familiar with her, but I guess I am
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
one of my favorite Disney villainesses is from one of my favorite Disney movies, 101 Dalmatians, that Walt Disney created in 1961. When I was a kid in the 90s, I watched the heck out of 101 Dalmatians, and it remains to this day one of my favorite movies. But I love Cruella DeVille, and may Betty Lou Gerson rest in peace. But I get a kick. Anita, darling, how are you? Miserable, darling. How would it be wretched? What are they? What are they? For heaven's sakes, what are they?
Oh my god. Okay, you're gonna have to go to her show, and maybe you'll run into Jeff, her husband, too, and you can
Okay, I think you would get a kick out of what I can
bond. Oh
imitate. I can
yeah,
imitate
get.
many. It would take another hour for me really to imitate all the voices I can do, but I think that's a good little taste of what I can do.
Yeah. There's a little, yeah, a little taste. So this Dean is clearly a man of many talents and interests,
Yeah,
and all in all of that stuff
for
is
sure.
a pleasure to be around. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
And I will have something else out for all you guys soon, and I look forward to further comments and thoughts, and appreciate you, Dean, and all
Thank
you
you too,
guys.
Lisa.
You'll see in the description of this and other episodes, website, Instagram, ways you can follow along, see behind the scenes, get
Hmm.
announcements for new episodes. If there's another live in person thing, it will be
Of
in those
course.
places. And yeah, I will see you all soon. And thank you
Thank you,
again,
Lisa.
Dean.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll at least leave this. Whoa! Whoa! As my famous cheering goes by.
There we go.
Lisa, thank you very much, Lisa. I enjoyed this past hour and 10 minutes with you. I don't think it could have turned out any better. And it's amazing how a lady like yourself is really into trains, and your videos continue just to amaze me and showing the fun. What's the correct way? Human side of loving trains that I normally don't see in a lot of videos. Not to say that not anybody does that with their videos, obviously, but and from Cam and I filming trains for the past 16 and a half years, and going strong. It blows my mind.
Thank you for saying that. And
Yeah,
yeah, thank you. And I admire you too for the freaking tenacity to have a channel going for that long and
of
filming and
course.
being consistent like that. I
Yeah,
realize how much work that is. So,
of
oh my
course.
gosh. Well, thank you again. And I will see
Thank you
you
too,
on here
Lisa.
soon, and all of the rest of you too.
Okay, Lisa, thank you very much. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this conversation. I hope maybe somebody will do it again. We'll see what
Sounds
happens.
great.
Well, yeah, we'll figure out a future day, and I hope to see you trackside.
I'd
And
love that.
after seeing 15 freights within 3 hours go through Fullerton on Thursday night, it will definitely be more fun than I can handle.
All righty.
All right, Lisa, thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.